Hey everybody, this is the week 5 devotional, and this week we are talking about boldness and courage when the stakes are high. So I want to kind of look back to last week. In Psalm 27, we read a section of Psalm 27 where David seems like he's kind of despairing. It kind of seems like he says, God, please don't leave me now, don't abandon me. And so we took some time and looked into, can we have boldness and courage in our relationship with God, and we found the answer is yes. And so we're moving on now in Psalm 27 to the next verse, which is verse 10, and it says, even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Okay? So this is David's realization that, he can trust in God and he can have that relationship with God where he knows that God will answer him. But it's also leading into the discussion for this week. So he says there's a chance of his family just completely abandoning him. And a lot of times when we follow God, we need to realize that the stakes are actually pretty high in doing that. So I want to look at a couple different places in Luke. The first one is Luke 9, verses 57 through 62. Okay, so basically what happens in this section is there's 3 different guys that come to Jesus, and the first guy comes and he says, Jesus, I want to follow you wherever you go. And Jesus responds with, well, if you're going to follow me, you're going to have to be homeless. The second guy comes up to Jesus and says, I want to follow you, but first let me go bury my father. And Jesus tells him, he says, don't bury your dad, just come follow me. The third person comes to Jesus and he says, I'll follow you, but let me go say bye to my family. And Jesus says, forget that. He says, just follow me. He says, if you put your hand to a job and then look back, then you're not fit to do that job. So Jesus is telling us that if there's anything that we value more than our relationship with him, or anything that would conflict with us doing what he tells us to do, then we need to kind of just forget about it. We need to just leave it behind. And so this is why we need to have boldness and courage in situations where it may not look good, it may look like we could lose a lot, it may look like we could lose a relationship with our family, like in the case of that third man, or we could lose our homes in the case of the first one. So next I want to look at a section that has the header of the cost of being a disciple. And this is in Luke chapter 14, verses 25 through 35. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says, Jesus is speaking, he says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a house. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this is the person who began to build and wasn't able to finish. And he goes on to use an example of a king that goes to war, but he doesn't realize that he hasn't even counted up his men before he goes to war, and so he loses. Okay, so Jesus is saying that before you start following him, you have to realize what's at stake. And what's at stake is your life. It could be anything. And Jesus points that out at the beginning. He says, if your relationship with anything is not like hate compared to your relationship with me, if you value anything close to how much you value me, then that's getting in the way of what I want you to do. So this week I want you to just like pray and ask God, what are those things in your life that are getting in the way, and what are the things that what are the costs that you have to count to follow him? Not just in doing big things, but also in doing everyday things And so we'll talk about that a little bit more later, and hopefully we'll get one up next week, and yeah.